Oh, I'm coming back. This guy's hilarious.
I find it really interesting when a man stands up for women's rights or when a man just calls out toxic behaviors from other men, they are immediately labeled as a simp and gay.
I've called out some dodgy fellas. Never been called either. But look how called out he feels. Personally attacked.
The idea of having empathy for another group of people, especially women, and not getting something out of them is just kind of like blasphemy to these men.
Well, at least women get empathy. Now I'm going to show you how he's used her video to justify what he does. Let's take it away.
So I've talked on simp before, how men calling other men simp is insulting to men. It's shaming them for being single.
He has no problem with women in his comment section calling other women pick-me's, though. It's funny that, isn't it?
And it perpetuates the exact kind of emotional violence against men that these men claim that they're totally against.
Firstly, there's no emotional violence within any of those comments. And yeah, he's right. Men shouldn't put other men down. But when you're dismissing men's issues the way this guy does, what kind of reaction does he expect?
Highlighting that their advocacy for men's rights issues and men's mental health is completely fucking fraudulent.
So what have we got so far? So if men don't agree with his bullshit stats that he's making up and they question him, then they're the ones that don't care about men's mental health. Bearing in mind, he's the one that's making up absolute bullshit to feed to women about men, which isn't accurate, which is getting the reaction that he's getting. Women are supporting it, men are questioning him about it, and then it's still not his fault. The level of narcissism is extreme. And bearing in mind, don't forget, it's all men. All men, so why is he defending himself? Shouldn't he be going, yes, do you know what? I am also one of the people I am advocating against for you ladies. Strange, isn't it?
But I want to talk about this empathy as blasphemy. Because it would seem to me that Occam's razor, the simplest explanation, would be that if we have socialized men to be protectors, then when they see marginalized and oppressed groups, they would want to step in and protect and advocate for them.
Yes, the simplest explanation would be a guy who's telling women that they're oppressed and marginalized when they're not. And you're defending them on their behalf because you don't think that they're capable of doing it themselves. Think about this. Like you said, Occam's razor.
And that even if you disagreed about what it is they're saying, the motivation of male allies should be fairly obvious.
If the male ally was pushing real facts and real statistics and real gender issues, then yes, it would be fairly obvious. But that's not what you're doing. You're sticking with false feminist narratives, old statistics that's already been debunked. And when you're proven wrong, you just stomp your feet and say, I'm right, you're wrong, as you are doing in this video.
And they understand empathy just fine.
Yes, they do. And you've just shown that you know it too. Oops.
They demand others be empathetic of what they're going through.
They demand others be empathetic of what they are going through. That's a use of separation language to distance yourself from a certain group of people, like a male gender, and try and cement your association with a different one, being their ally, which, to me, massive red flag. I think any normal fella would agree.
And in that recent video I did on the study of incels,
If you haven't seen that video, it's just him trying to deflect attention away from himself again. There's nothing new. Don't worry.
their top desired trait was kindness and compassion. So they have no problem with understanding empathy, even empathy given without getting anything in return.
Don't know if you just realised, but he's just totally contradicted himself, so oops, again, times two.
Because were it directed towards them, they would have a completely different tune. No, the issue is specifically empathy towards women.
Now, I'm going to give credit where credit is due, because there are men out there that are just terrible men. And, you know, any empathy towards women is an issue to them. And they're disgusting human beings. However, the way this guy has positioned it, he's positioning it in a way that anyone who disagrees with him falls under this category. That's manipulating your audience. That's a red flag. That's why people have a problem.
Simp is just a shortcut for saying that kindness to women is wrong and should be shamed.
Like calling a woman a pick-me, which is rife in his comment section of any woman he stitches. But, you know, different energy, because it's not him being personally attacked. Now, if someone is using real stats, real documents, real life experiences, real figures, real everything, and not trying to kind of display it in a way that just makes one look way more oppressed than the other, then we shouldn't call them a simp or a pygmy. If you start pandering to people by making up figures and running with them like they're true, then that throws up a red flag, and then you should be questioned, and then if you get called one of those names, well, tough shit.
Why? Well, because women should serve men. So the very act of seeing a man offering a woman's viewpoint,
Should he, though?
of hearing a woman's voice through a man's mouth,
Can he not hear himself, honestly?
of seeing a man stand side by side and champion women's interests, well, that feels awfully like a man serving a woman.
The setup, the stretch, the justification. So manipulative.
Which should not only be shamed, but makes him a traitor to his gender.
Hold on, Skippy. We fibbing again. Let's take a look at those comments. So one says that you condemn an entire gender, one which you are a part of, and the other one says that men and women should have the same validation. Who's called you a traitor? No one, have they? You've fibbed again, right in front of everyone's faces. Stop it.
And they say all of this while insisting very sincerely and earnestly that they are not misogynistic.
I don't know if you've just seen what he's done there, but he's basically set it up towards his audience to say that anyone who disagrees with him is automatically misogynistic, and that he's a traitor, which nobody in those comments that I've seen have said. He's gaining the trust of his audience whilst telling women that other men they should be worried about.
Understand all of this. Calling men simp or white knight or saying they're less masculine. It's all driven by a fear of being held accountable.
He says as he makes a video to kind of make sure that in the future that he's never held accountable for anything because everyone else is the bad guy but he's the good guy. It's just mind-blowing.
The idea that a man would listen to women,
Which most men do, and I encourage it.
that he would allow himself to be questioned by women,
Everyone should be allowed to be questioned by anyone. Absolutely.
is completely unnatural to them.
Maybe to a small few, but not the guys that you're trying to point out.
Because they are good guys. They are beyond reproach. Their character is impeccable and they will not be questioned on it.
This guy's made a whole video and his character's been questioned. Telling you that everyone else is the enemy. Beyond reproach. Shall not be questioned. Can we see? Can we see?
They're ultimately male supremacists, which is
Whoa, hang on. Didn't he say this earlier?
of hearing a woman's voice through a man's mouth.
As transparent as you like.
It's not only a dangerous line of thinking, but it makes them dangerous people to be around.
What Brent is trying to say here is that anyone that questions him is dangerous to be around. Ladies, you're safe around him.
So understand, whenever they throw out simp or white knight or whatever stupid insult they think works,
Like a lot of idiots will throw those words around, however, he's only highlighted the ones that disagreed with him. Just wanting to point that out.
all they're doing is waving a giant red flag that lets everybody else know to stay the hell away from them.
That video was the biggest case of, look over there, ladies, I'm not someone you should be scared of, it's every other man. I'm okay, I am safe. Look, any male feminist would tell women that men will try and manipulate you to get you to trust them. Okay? Right? We agreed. Okay, so why are we treating women like they're oppressed by telling them that they're oppressed and pandering to them with false information like that dude does to make them consistently feel oppressed? What help is he doing them? He's actually treating these women less than children. Hey kids, it's a bit of a bad world out there, but don't worry, if anything happens to you, it's not your fault. It's because of other people. No, we give them the harsh reality. We stick with facts and the truth to protect others. When you're on social media, pandering, bullshitting, you're going to get questioned. As I'm doing to this guy right now. Don't believe me? Watch.
Give me one privilege men have that women don't. Sure, I can handle this. But understand, this will be from a man's perspective, so it'll be a very shallow overview.
Pandering.
The experience of women is much deeper and broader than I will fully understand.
But happy enough to speak on behalf of women.
That said, you probably want to take a seat. The first thing you'll encounter is it's much more expensive to live as a woman. The pink tax, which marks up everyday items such as shampoo, razors, and body wash, means that your products could cost anywhere from 20 to 50% more, simply because they're marketed to women.
It's been debunked so many times.
You'll also be expected to wear makeup daily, and that has an additional cost. That's estimated to be around $3,700 every year. Over a lifetime, that could put you through Harvard.
I thought women wear makeup for themselves.
This doesn't include extra expenses for contraception and feminine hygiene products.
There are certain products that's used down below that are quite expensive for ladies, but you're not taking into account that men pay for work clothes, condoms. No, it's just women that have expenses with certain things. Men don't have hygiene. Fuck them.
That's your expenses, but what about your income? The gender pay gap has remained unchanged for the last 20 years, with women still making about 80 cents for every dollar a man makes.
Yeah, and that's been debunked about 1,000,001 times, but he still continues to go with it because, you know, women like hearing that shit.
And if you decide to have children and take a break in your career to look after them, which is predominantly women 4 times more than men.
If that's such a big issue, get feminism to encourage women to go back to work and men to stay at home with their children. Men would welcome that. You'd be surprised. No? You don't want to do it? No, there's a reason why. There's also a similar reason why men have to fight for their kids after a split up. You know, they're kind of interlinked, but, you know, yeah, we'll avoid that because it doesn't work with your bullshit narrative, does it?
Even at median incomes, just a 5-year gap means that you will lose out almost $500,000 of income.
Telling ladies they'll lose £500,000 if they take 5 years to raise a child. Oh, what bullshit is this?
And because of all this, women are almost 70% more likely to live in poverty than men.
90% of the homeless population are men, but women are in more poverty? How the fuck have you done those mental gymnastics?
Which then means they're 80% more likely to retire into poverty as well.
Huh, it's got nothing to do with women being more likely to reach a retirement age than men. Nothing to do with that, no. It's the patriarchy. This guy's videos, man. I can't continue watching them. I lose brain cells.